Sorry, Jubin, go ahead. What'd you want to say?
Yeah, look, I wasn't going to call in, but I heard it sounded like a kid almost calling in, and he was saying some stuff about Shanahan that he gave me no other option. Look, I really can't stand the fans that put Kyle anywhere near the hot seat. And, the fans, they love Kyle. They buy the same hats he wears. Like, he had that one in 19. I guess he designed that red one himself, and the NFL said he couldn't wear it anymore because of some licensing stuff or whatever. I've seen so many fans wearing that same hat he was wearing during that run. And, look at what Kyle's done since he's been here. The first year rebuilds, fine. Second year, loses the starting quarterback. What can you do? Third year, Super Bowl. Fourth year was that year Bosa tore the ACL, and Jimmy, he played like 6-7 games. And every year since that year, we've been right there. We've been one of the best teams in the league. And, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I hope this man is our coach for the next 20 years, because he's not going to win one. He'll win us multiple championships. And I love what you guys said about the offensive side of he's the guy calling the shots with the offense. You got to give him credit for that. All these guys he's brought in. You mentioned Debo, Ayuk. I'm sure he had some info on Kittle. I just think Kyle, fans, they can't be impatient with him. We're going to win this game, but if we don't win it, he'll get us there one of these years. So I just wanted to call in and just defend Shanny.
Jubin, enjoy your burger. You deserve a second one, because it warms my heart to know there are fans out there who think that way. And we don't all have to agree, and I know we don't. But damn it, I hate the Kyle slander. I legit hate it. I cannot stand it. You got to answer this. You have to answer this. If you think he's so wobbly, it turtles up and he's conservative and he panics, if you think all that, then you also have to answer for why Jimmy Garoppolo was a Super Bowl level quarterback under him. The last pick in the draft is a Super Bowl quarterback under him. If you're one of these people that thinks something about the system makes these quarterbacks better than they actually are, which I think is that's a coherent point. It's a fair point. But if you think that, then explain to me how he's not literally the best coach in the NFL. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else can turn nobody quarterbacks into Super Bowl appearances. Andy Reid hasn't done that. Bill Belichick hasn't done that. Shall I name more names? Who else has done that consistently?
Well, they've won Super Bowls, so they're in a different class than Kyle Shanahan, right, a guy who can't win the big one.
With Tom Brady, or with Patrick Mahomes, or with Joe Montana, or what have you. I want to know, if you think Kyle is so wobbly, then how come nobody else who's coached for the last 30 years brings Bebopaloo and Johnny Nobody to the Super Bowl? You don't get it both ways. You either have to say Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo are flipping amazing quarterbacks, or get out the way and give Kyle credit for being the best coach in the game.
Well, he gets credit in 6 days, 15 minutes, and 23 seconds and counting if he gets the win. And if he doesn't, then the questions fall on his doorstep again that he was unable to get it done and win the big one. So if he doesn't win the big one again, then the questions will continue to recirculate, because all those other coaches you mentioned, they won it. And you could look at Doug Peterson, who won it with Nick Foles. Is Nick Foles any better than Jimmy Garoppolo or Brock Purdy? Probably not, but he got one done with those guys.
Right, but that was one.
That's all we want from Kyle.
Kyle's been to
win one.
4 Final Fours in 5 years.
And he's won 0 Lombardis.
But that's not the point.
That is the point.
It's not the point.
That is the point.
It's not the way it works. Andy Reid was the exact same guy. Why? Because he's a great coach.
But now he's exalted because he got there and he got over the line. That's why he's now considered one of the best ever.
Because, Patrick, Because Patrick.
But also because Andy. He had Donovan McNabb, and he couldn't get it done.
And Donovan McNabb, I'd argue, is a hell of a lot more accomplished than Garoppolo or Purdy at this point. So that's all I'm saying. When you say, the only thing I disagree with you on that you just said is if he loses this game this weekend, the questions resurface. Not for me. Well, I have no questions about Kyle Shanahan.
I'm not asking you.
I got none. And I won't after this game either.
Of course you won't. And most people won't either, but the people who are Kyle haters, the people who think it's a system and Kyle Shanahan is a choker and Kyle Shanahan seizes up in the big moments and Kyle Shanahan turtles up, all the criticisms that people have of Kyle Shanahan will resurface if they don't win this game.
It's just fascinating to me that we would only affix that label to this game. This game.
Well, this is the only game that matters
but
now.
But it's not, because the other games to get to this are also big.
Yeah, they're big.
And that's the moving of the goalposts. The idea that somehow Kyle Shanahan is a dog in every game in October, November, December, and January, but something happens in February where he just loses his bananas and can't think straight anymore, even though I'd argue he's only been to one of these. He's only been to one as the head guy.
Yeah.
He's been to one.
Had to lead.
And he had to lead.
10-point lead.
An insurmountable 10-point lead.
Not insurmountable.
Who the hell's ever lost a 10-point lead? So the
Not
idea,
insurmountable, but he had to lead.
But if we're going to affix big game to the other ones, well, he lost the Rams game too. Well, he won last week.
Yeah.
In an equally big game with a larger deficit that he was facing. So, in other words, it feels to me like 6 years of head coaching, and some of you want to affix a label to him based on one game. One game. He went to the Super Bowl one time, and it went well for 3.5 quarters, and then it didn't, and so now he's defined by that. I think it's crazy. I
don't think he's completely defined by it.
Feels like it for some.
Well, if you want to ask about Marv Levy, and if I say the name Marv Levy, what's the first thing you think of?
Well, you think of losing in the Super Bowl, but that also
4 straight times.
Well, yeah, it's 4 straight times.
Right, but you don't think about the totality of his career.
But I never think choker. To be honest with you,
but you look at things differently than the majority of people.
But
you're more positive than the majority of people.
But he was very rarely the better team in those Super Bowls. The AFC was.
I think he was favored once.
Yeah, he was the lesser entity at that time.
Sure,
the AFC. And he's the owner of the greatest comeback in the history of the playoffs that literally came 2 weeks before one of the Super Bowls.
Right.
35-3, they're down.
I was delivering pizzas that day,
and they win the game.
The
so how am I going to call Marv Levy someone who can't win the big game? That's a big game.
He didn't win the biggest game of all, that's where where when you say the name Marv Levy, for people who are football fans, they think first and foremost about 4 losses in the Super Bowl consecutively. You don't think about what his winning record is, and I don't have it in front of me, but he had a very good career. He's probably top 10 all-time in wins. And you don't think about those things. You think about the Super Bowl failure. That's all I'm saying. And that's where if Kyle Shanahan doesn't win this Sunday, and kickoff is now barely more than 6 days from this very moment.
And 10 minutes.
If he doesn't win this game, that will percolate toward the top of his resume.
I guess.
Fair or foul, it will for many people.
Foul. Especially, I mean, if he loses twice, if he's been to the Super Bowl twice and he loses, to the quarterback most people think is destined to be the greatest of all time, I'm not going to label you. Yeah, you lost. I'm not saying it's good enough, but I'm not going to label you a choker.
4 coaches have been to 2 or more Super Bowls and never won.
Who are those guys? Marv Levy.
Correct, 0-4. Bud Grant with the Vikings in Super Bowl 4, 7, 9, and 11.
I was a big fan.
Dan Reeves.
Yeah.
0-4. Broncos and Falcons. And this one kind of sneaks up on you. John Fox.
Oh, gosh.
Carolina and Denver. 0-2.
Yeah.
Those are the only guys who've been to multiple and not won.
I got it. Look, I'm not saying it won't be painful.
He's John Fox, Coach.
There you go.
He's a modern-day John Fox. Let's go.
I would easily, without hesitation, argue, based on the productivity he has gotten out of perceived lesser quarterbacks, and you know damn well how much I love Purdy, but to argue, like I wouldn't even argue that Purdy is on the presence and experience level of a Mahomes or even an Allen or a Burrow or anything like that. To have this kind of consistency during the upheaval he has had at the quarterback position. If you asked me, who do I want coaching my team among all active coaches, I wouldn't even wait 2 seconds to answer your question.
Andy Reid.
Kyle Shanahan, period.
Over Andy Reid?
Easily.
Wow.
What do you think would the spread be in this game if Mahomes was on the Niners and Purdy was on the Chiefs? You taking Andy Reid in that game?
No, but
okay.
I mean,
Andy is much more about Patrick than the other way around, and we've already learned this. Is Belichick a great coach? Absolutely. And so's Andy Reid. But how many Super Bowls has Belichick got without Tom? Same number that Andy's got without Pat, and the same number Andy is going to retire with without Pat.
If Andy is coaching the Niners and Kyle's coaching the Chiefs, the Niners are favored by 5 in this game.
What? Why?
Because Andy's better than Kyle. Look at what Andy's done.
Based on what?
Based on what he's done with far less this year than what Kyle has.
Far less? Who
couldn't coach the Niners like this?
He's got Patrick flipping Mahomes.
And who else?
Travis Kelce.
Okay.
Steve Spagnuolo. He's got all kinds of... He's got an operation.
Roster-wise, it's not even close.
Of course it's
not. The Niners
not.
should be favored by 17 in this game based on roster. I should save this for the stream. This is great material.
This is stupid.
The Niners roster is way better than Kansas City.
The Niners have the best roster, but the Chiefs have the best player. And what usually wins in sports? You think LeBron always has the best roster?
He never has the best roster.
Thank you, but he's the best player, so he wins. It's the same thing. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. You don't win them all, but you're right there, and you win a lot of them.
But you've got the NFL's almost MVP on your team.
Stop.
You have the AMVP, the almost MVP.
Almost, yeah.
You've got 2 of the top 5 in the MVP voting.
And who did Patrick beat last week? Not the almost, the actual. The MVP.
Patrick didn't beat him. The defense beat him.
Stop. Patrick grabbed the ball, went right down the field, and threw the ball to Travis Kelce to take control of that game.
That was it.
And then the Ravens just cowered in the entire shadow of Patrick Mahomes by acting like
in the shadow of a ferocious defense.
The entire game. Ferocious defense.
I can't wait to get on the stream. I got some choice words for you, Buster.
On the 1-inch line, pal.
It's a good hit, buddy. It's good defense. Defense wins championships.
Look. The bottom. You're never going to get me to say something bad about Andy Reid.
You already have.
No, I haven't. But he has Patrick Mahomes.
And that's why that's what you're saying is why he's a good coach.
Yes. How many did Phil win without Shaq and Kobe? Or Michael?
6.
Or Michael.
Well, I mean, you're gonna lump them all in.
You got the best player.
How many years did he coach without Shaq and Kobe and Michael?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
His little New York dalliance.
And came back to coach the Lakers again.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
That was the noise it made with Dwight Howard on the team.
Oh God, Dwight Howard. Warrior fan still wants Dwight Howard. And just real quick and circling back, Marv Levy 26th all time in wins. Not as high on the list as I would have thought.
Yeah.
And your guy Shanahan, God, you got to scroll way down to find Shanahan.
Well, listen.
Behind McDermott and McVay.
Listen to this, because I think we're going to call Rich at some point during the stream.
You should.
This is Rich Ornberger, our buddy, Fox Sports Radio. Take a listen.
The San Francisco 49ers are an Instagram filter. It doesn't matter which quarterback.
That is so good.
It doesn't matter which quarterback played in this system. They would look way better than they did before going through that filter. If you put Kirk Cousins in San Francisco this year,
100%.
they're going to the Super Bowl. If you put Geno Smith in the San Francisco system this year, they're going to the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy is off to a great start with his career, but we're looking at him through the Instagram filter of the San Francisco 49ers.
I didn't get mad at Kirk Cousins. You lost me at Geno Smith. But that's not even the point. If you feel that way, and I'll ask Rich this, if you feel that way, I would argue you're saying that Kyle Shanahan is head and shoulders above the other coaches in the NFL. Because who else has ever done that? Who else has competed in the Final Four 4 out of 5 years, essentially without a good quarterback, simply an Instagram filter?
Yeah, get Rich on.
Who's ever done that?
I'd like to hear from him.
Who's ever done that?
Probably nobody.
That would
and if
be
you look at the history,
nobody.
you look at the history of teams who've been to that many, they are few and far between, and one of them's Philadelphia, and they had Donovan McNabb, who is better than Brock Purdy.
At this point.